The National Health Service is in crisis. While a lack of hospital beds and closed down A&Es are a common complaint, perhaps the most concerning figure today is the acute shortage of nurses in 96% of hospitals across the country. And experts believe the situation is about to get a whole lot worse as Brexit looms.
What we've seen is cyclical shortages of nurses that have occurred every 5-10 years. And when that has happened, we relied on foreign nurses, either nurses from the EU, but nurses from outside the EU to come in and fill those shortages.
Rachel Marangonzov is a researcher at the Institute of Employment Studies. With 1 in 3 British nurses due to retire in the next 10 years and over 22,000 EU nurses working in England alone, she believes the government is doing the opposite of solving the NHS crisis.
The worst case scenario, I think, is going to be that NHS trusts across England are going to face severe shortages of nurses post-Brexit. And this is not just because the recruitment pipeline is going to be squeezed, because we're leaving the single market, we're not going to be able to recruit so easily, but because a lot of nurses might not feel welcome, they might not want to work here anymore. That's going to affect the level of care that NHS trusts can provide. Remember, NHS trusts are already very squeezed financially, and it's going to place more emphasis on recruiting either domestically here in the UK, which is going to be difficult, but also from outside of Europe to fill those shortages.
Monica Sanson moved to the UK 4 years ago. NHS recruiting firm Kate Cowhig came to her university in Portugal offering jobs to newly graduated nurses. But now that Prime Minister Theresa May is about to trigger Article 50, her future in post-Brexit Britain is less sure.
My relation with NHS is beautiful, it's perfect. I love to work here, otherwise I wouldn't stay for longer anyway. But I don't feel any kind of discrimination or different treatment comparing to my other EU colleagues or even foreign colleagues from outside the EU. If the day comes that I feel the slightest unwelcome or, treated differently, if that day comes, if the day comes that I'm just not feeling okay, that's the day I'll leave. If that day comes, I will leave. If not, I intend to continue here.
The government haven't really invested in growing enough domestic nurses to fill those shortages. We have recently heard from the government that they're cutting the nursing bursary, which comes into effect this year. On top of that, we're seeing student applications for nursing places this year have dropped by around 20%, I think, in England. And on top of that, we have an ageing population, particularly those over the age of 85, is set to expand massively in the next few years. So that's going to place an additional burden on health and social care sectors.
In November 2015, in my third year of university, the government cut the bursaries for nursing, midwifery and associated healthcare professional students, deciding to replace it with really, really big loans.
This is British nurse Danielle Tiplady. When the newly elected Conservative government cut the funds she had relied on to become a nurse, she started a campaign, Bursary or Bust.
So now essentially our student nurses, midwives, everybody will be paying to work. We work a huge number of clinical hours, nights, weekends, bank holidays. Your rotas are often given to you really, really late. You're not only a student nurse, like you are the glue in the NHS, you're often doing other jobs as well to help pitch into the team and make sure that the patients are okay.
But a Westminster spokesman told RT,
"Staffing is a priority. We will continue to make sure we have the staff available to give patients high quality care as part of a safer NHS 7 days a week."
For people like Danielle and Monica, government policies like the training of 51,000 nurses might come a little too late in face of the fast approaching changes.
Nursing is in a huge crisis. We have a 24,000 vacancy rate. It doesn't add up that the government would take away something to reward people to go into nursing to deter them when we have such huge vacancy rates all over the country. The government they haven't even responded to the drop in applications. They have not said one word about it apart from they expected it to happen, and they seem to just make it up as they go along. They have to look at this and realise the crisis that we're in.
Until figures are squared, it seemed like the future of nursing standards in Britain remains a riddle, and with it, the NHS crisis unsolved. Joanna Ramiro, RT.